So how's everybody's Christmas been? I mean, Tom's totally open, guys. If you guys want to just chit chat, totally fine.
All
Oh,
right,
I've
how you
got
doing?
like an hour before I go to like open presents.
Nice. I put it in the MOTD, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. Shameless plug. We are doing our Meet the Directors Gate Camping Fleet slash class thing on Saturday. So if you guys want to come out for that, I put a link for the forum post with it. We've got quite a few people. I think we're gonna run it for about 5 hours of like 30-minute chunks of talking to various directors. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll record all of those and post them so you guys can see it if anybody is gonna miss it or anything like that. But yep. So we'll do that on Saturday. Uh, and then I got browbeat into doing a tour of the sites of Eve tomorrow at this time. So if you've never been on one of those, Merck has done a couple of these on SNS over the years, but we decided to do one this year for Christmas time. So we'll leave from CJ and we'll take everybody out to see a few of the sites. So if you've never been out to some of the areas, there's some cool things. We may give CCP a hard time about some of the stupid things they do, but the art team is pretty fantastic. So we'll take you guys out and show you some of the cool stuff. Yeah, the scenery in Eve is, hands down. It always has been. The art team at CCP is just fantastic. Right? I mean, some of the things the devs do, we don't really like the, some of the game mechanics and all that kind of stuff. We've got issues with them, but I've never really met anybody who's like, the art team at CCP, fuck those guys. Nobody ever says that. I'll admit, you usually got to have your settings turned up pretty
Hello.
high to really see how cool the art actually is. I mean, especially the nebulas. Just the way that the art team has put in the nebulas that you can see just in the background. Some were a little bright for my taste. I was flying through. I don't remember where I was. I think it was in Caldari space. I'm like, oh my god, this nebula is freaking bright. Yeah, go. Yeah, no one ever said yeah. Fuck the fire. Yeah, no one ever says it about the art team. Yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, new backgrounds in space because we did shift um, around the kind of setup with it. You can see the nebulas in different areas, and then as you move, clockwise, counterclockwise, diagonal across Eve, whatever it is, those nebulas do change absolutely, and they'll change their relative orientation too. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you open up your tactical view, there's a colored line on it. On my screen, it's like a yellow gold color. That points to the exact same system no matter where you are. So you can actually orient yourself in Eve's universe based on where that is. It will point to the same system. But you can only see that in tactical. It's on the tactical overview or the What do they call that thing? Tactical overlay. It's on the tactical overlay.
Yeah, it's the gold line, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
kind of like it's like you're north.
it is. Yep, but
Yeah.
it doesn't point north and eve. It points to the same system. So it actually shifts as you move around because it's not always pointing north like a compass. It points to the same location. The Eve lore is so it points to where CCP is. It's like where they do the Alliance tournament and stuff like that, right? They take you to their system. That's what that's doing. It's pointing to that kind of an area. So it will shift as you move. Yeah, it's one of those weird things that I don't remember them ever like really publicizing. They did many years ago. There was an event that was going on. I think it was when they brought in maybe it was like the Drifters or something. They had a whole thing with it, and it was really heavily publicized at that point in time. Of, this is over here, and it's pointing to this, and it used to go into like Jove's space and all that kind of stuff, which is when you look at yeah. So they isolated Caroline's star based on that. Yeah, it's how they did that was triangulating it. That compass didn't point to that star, but they triangulated it from there. It's one of those really cool things. People done some very even for us we're like, damn, you're really just a freaking nerd, aren't you? um, People actually calculated the light year distance to wormhole space. I don't remember how many light years it is, but it's an ungodly number. It's like not even in the galaxy of Eve, like the New Eden galaxy. It's like in another galaxy. It's like 1 million or 2 million light years away. It's some ridiculous thing like that. Someone calculated it based on those angle trajectories. They did that years and years ago. Heidi, you love it. Yeah, but they did. That was like, oh my god, you're the biggest freaking nerd when they calculated that. Yeah, the depth on Eve is pretty incredible. I was talking to see if he's is he here today. I was talking to Ferros yesterday. Yeah, he didn't make it. I was talking to Ferros Warrior yesterday. Sorry, just messed up my camera. Talking to Ferros Warrior yesterday, and he said something that was the craziest thing. Talking about one of the old mechanics with these snowballs and fireworks. And for those of you who remember, this is going to be a blast from the past. Years ago, these fireworks would give you a pseudo aggression, and you would think that someone was firing on you, right? So when someone does an aggressive act against you right there, the bracket on their ship turns red, right? When they're locking you, it's yellow. When they're doing some kind of an offensive action, it's red. These fireworks used to do that. They would show up red, but they didn't actually aggress you. And so people would fire back in high sec and get concorded for it. And there was a whole bunch of griefers who were sitting on the 4-4 on Dock and Jita, just getting people concorded over and over by shooting fireworks at them. So, like I said, that's not a thing anymore. It seems to be changed that years ago. Um, but yeah, they got a whole bunch of people concorded back in the day on the 4-4 on dock with that. Anyone still have a Instadock on the old Gita 44 station? If you haven't been out there for a couple of years, right, CCP's really changed the market model, right? The model where the market hub is. Your safe Instadock might actually be inside the new model if you have not been out there in the last couple of years. So they didn't move any of those Instadocks. So depending on where yours was, what side of the model of the station it was on, you might actually have a Instadock inside the new station. Well, years ago. Yeah,
You
mine's
know,
my Instadock's inside the station too. It's hilarious.
I saw Jada 44 for the first time. Like I logged into one of my alts and then I actually undocked it. And I was like, oh my God, they changed it. It's so weird. Like, why did they do that?
Yeah, they made a big thing about this. When did they do this? Maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So if we go way back in time here to the Faction War update, I shouldn't say the Faction War update. When they brought in Faction War, they did a whole in-game event with it, and this was the Uli system, right? So the old market hub in Eve. It's not always been in Jita. It's been there for 15 plus years now. But the original one was in Uli. And the thing to begin the faction war was a Nyx class supercarrier actually rammed the station in Uli and basically killed a whole bunch of people. And so that's what kicked off faction warfare. And if you look back at that, the old station there in Uli was burning in space for years, and CCP was like, maybe we should put those fires out and fix that. So when they did that, they started to say, maybe we should update some of these things, and that kind of led into the getting the new station in Jita. Screw you, Heidi. Um, yeah, there actually are quite a number of like novels plus short stories, all those kind of things. Um, I I think I've read that one. I've got a whole bunch of those books. I honestly don't remember that for sure. So maybe that I just don't remember it because I read it so many years ago, or that might be one that I didn't actually read. They did one called it was called like Templars or something like that. It's when they brought out Dust. When Dust was originally coming out, they did a book tie-in to it that talked about the original Dust mercenaries from. Anybody help me on that? What was that? 2014, 2015, something like that. Yeah, Templar one. Yeah. Yeah, so one of the things when you do ship modeling like this, for those of you guys who don't know, the collision model for it is what the fireworks use, like when they explode. So they're not nearly as dramatic on smaller hulls as they are on bigger ones. Uh, the problem is that the Keepstar is terrible. We've tried that before, and it's the model is so big it kind of breaks fireworks. Battle cruisers, battleships work really well. You know, dreads, carriers, and everything like that. The Titans are getting a little bit towards the big ones for it. Um, but yeah, they absolutely do, and it's based on the collision model. Because the fireworks too run on basically missile. Um, well, the snowballs do too. They work on missile kind of mechanics. If you get a really fast ship, you can actually have a whole bunch of them trailing behind you, just like you could with missiles. And you just stop your ship, and then this wall of fireworks and snowballs just slams into them. It's actually kind of funny.
You said we could bring anything, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean we're just sitting on the undock.
It'd be funnier to go sit on someone else's undock and do this.
We have done that before, and it's when we set up all of this kind of stuff. I assumed that this year for Christmas we would be somewhere in the drone lands, sieging, horde space. But yeah, you guys know what happened on that, so we're doing it in CJ.
I was going to say, if our enemies didn't kill over and die by us merely breathing hard in their general direction, we would be doing this in a different system right now.
Yeah, I could not have told you where we would be, but I did not honestly expect to be doing this in CJ this year. I thought we would be, somewhere like neck deep into
Still back
shit.
and like
Yeah,
still
like
back
neck
in
deep into.
UQ, like we're still staging out a UQ or something, like somewhere in the middle.
So no, I expected us to be in drones somewhere, like neck deep in the shit of drones, rather than uh, drones being completely empty of horde and a whole bunch of new people in there. We mentioned this on the fireside last week. If you guys haven't seen the Sov map of the drones, it's really pretty cool right now. There's probably about a dozen or so groups in there.
Oh yeah, I saw it on Reddit. It looked pretty good. It's gonna be interesting. This year's gonna be fun.
Yeah. It's like the Holy Roman Empire over there. Yeah, I mean, little bit. Yeah, it definitely looks like kind of like medieval Europe in there with everything. It's pretty crazy. I think there actually is like a dozen groups in there. When I looked at the Saab map last time, it's something like that. There was a handful of NC dot space still left that the locals hadn't killed yet, and there was like a half a dozen horde systems still that the locals hadn't knocked their Sav out on. But there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. It's really pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that all that interest in the drone lands. We never thought of it because,
It's one of those, like, the drones is a really interesting region, or set of regions, I should say, of space, because the logistics in and out of it is terrible unless you control it, and that's why we put those free ports in there. Because when we sat down and we're planning for what to do with them, the thing that we kept coming back to is we want to see what it looks like now with all of these new groups in there, right? That's kind of the whole point to doing this. But we kept running into the stumbling block of, well, how do you get stuff in and out? Because a lot of the drone lands is out of NPC range. That's why it was so strong and so difficult to invade. And that's when we came up with the free ports to allow people to move deeper into the Dronelands. That's why we set up those keep stars there. Because we wanted people to be able to go, oh, okay, well, we can actually do this and have secure logistics to get things in and out and bring in whatever it is that they were doing. And I'll admit we weren't sure if anybody was actually going to do it, or because goons have a reputation that was earned about 15 years ago, and since, of do like would the Goonies actually do this? And our word is our bond. We've said that for many years, but a lot of new people don't believe us with it. Uh, but you look at the Sov map, and it seems pretty clear that those groups did actually believe us, which is very cool.
Space is healing.
Yeah, it was really, it was, and we've talked about this on so many different firesides. It was amazing on 5 November, like when all of this stuff kicked off. I was at work. I was actually on my lunch break, and I normally have my phone, turned off while I'm in my office, and it's just buzzing and vibrating. I'm like, oh my god, what's happened? Like, is my mother gotten hurt, or is my dad, or something? What is this? And I pick it up, and I had so many Discord messages and everything. It was insane. I started reading them on my lunch break. I even messaged the command team. I'm like, what the hell's going on? It was nuts. It was a crazy day. Yeah, I mean, it's something to think about, like all of the work that you all put in during the gate camp and that, well, not, I guess not the gate camp, the siege there of our attack A. Remember, guys, it only lasted 6 days. I mean, they sent that thing out on 5 November, and we killed it, which was a Wednesday, right? 5 November is a Wednesday. We killed it that Sunday night. I mean, it was USTZ, but it was Sunday night um, on it. That's it. That's how long that siege took. And, they were broken. They try to pull back into low sec. That was a total disaster. We all looked at this. We're like, wait, you're going to do what now? Okay. Yeah, sure. That's a plan. Um, and then they disbanded and merged into Init. Remember, guys, that took 4 or 5 weeks from arguably the most powerful alliance and coalition in Eve at that point in time to a couple of member corps in Init. 5 weeks, maybe six. Let's call it 6 weeks. 6 weeks is what that took. Uh, for those of us who have lived through that, this is one of those moments. If you guys were not at a place like Asakai or BTAC-R or any of those other kind of pieces, you now have that, right? Our attack A has gone down and will go down in Eve's history as one of just the huge turning points uh, of Eve. So, uh, Merry Christmas. Huzzah, everybody. I mean, that was just the craziest goddamn thing. Yeah, Heidi, that's a really good question. So I'm obviously just reading stuff in the fleet chat here. I'll read it for those of you guys who are not in there. Um, I would have said, if you're going to run like that, why wouldn't you wait until the weekend when more people are home? I have no idea. I don't know. So I'm just going to throw some shit against the wall and we'll see. My only thought is that they expected us to take the coward's way out of an invasion like they do, and they expected it to take days and days and days before we did anything. Um, and so when Asher gave the order and you all nerds jumped into there within less than an hour, we caught them completely by surprise. Our intel shows that. But the the fact that we did it so quickly, I think that's why, because they thought, oh well, we announced it on Wednesday, so all of our people know. And then, we'll slow roll everybody out of here over the next couple of weeks. It'll take the goons weeks to, march through the frontier because that's how they would do it. It's my hand waving. I think it's reasonable hand waving, but I cannot prove to you that scenario, but I think it's pretty valid. Have they not learned anything? No, clearly not. Um, but to your point, have they not learned anything about like how we conduct war? And even though they've been our ancient enemy for 10 plus years, right, within Horde, um, they clearly have not. Uh, I don't know why they thought this would be what we would do, uh, but they clearly did, and severely underestimated our response. Our spies confirmed that they were just stunned that within an hour we had a fleet sitting on the undock of their Keepstar. And remember, guys, RA was fairly deep in their space too, right? It wasn't on the border. They moved their staging thing away from our border because they were okay. They claimed at the time that it was for pan crab stuff, which we all thought was weird, but they do some weird shit anyway, so we didn't think much of it. Um, and then they bitched out like 3 weeks later, and we're like, oh, okay, this kind of makes sense. So there was a little bit of writing on the wall, but I will admit, we just missed it because it didn't make sense to us. But yeah, we honestly thought it was just an attempt of them to like gain more votes for the CSM. That's what we assumed to be the case, and we still pretty much assume that is what happened. Um, but nevertheless, they did move everybody out from MJ back to RTAC A, so they got a whole bunch of people to resub, and we're like, oh, they're just gaming the CSM, dick move. But okay, whatever. What else do you expect from Horde? And then they like did this weird disbanding thing. Yeah, the thing that drove me crazy on this whole thing is because I was literally at work because it's a Wednesday and that's my really late night of work. So it kicked off at about at noon 30 my time, and I wasn't able to sit down at my desk at home and do anything until about 9:30 or 10 p.m. that night. So for like 9 hours or something, I just got updates on my phone. It was crazy. Yeah, I was a little hacked off in some of our command channels. And from that point, if you're in some of those channels, you can go and look at it. And I'm just like, God damn it! You do this on a Wednesday when I have to work. What the fuck? Friday's actually my shortest day. For that, Thursday's shorter, but not as short. But yeah, Wednesday was brutal. You shot a Navy dread. Nice. Oh, it's a red dread. Okay. I thought you meant you killed somebody who was just having fun and you did a blue shoot on a Navy dread. I was like, oh, okay, who sacrificed their dread? It's a fraternity guy. Nice. Yeah, I saw that item. The comedy item that CCP put in. I I wasn't sure how what they were gonna do if they were gonna put something like that in. There was the scope video. It didn't have Alton Hovery on it, which I was kind of bummed on because I think his are a little bit more fun than the other person they've got doing it. Um, but somebody linked that to me the day that they were like announced. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I love that one. That was that's another thing I was actually talking to Ferals about when we were mentioning the fireworks and people getting concorded in Jita. Back in the day when CCP had the live events dev team, those guys were hilarious. They did so much stuff. The couple of videos that I linked in the MOTD for the fleet, um, those are from that team when they did all those kind of things, doing fun stuff like that. The original wormholes, when those were first brought in, there was a whole kind of thing about that. The original incursions, the first Sancha incursions, I was at the very first one of those incursions. It was in some high sec system. Don't remember where it was now. Um, and it had been there for like 2 days or something. CSP was making a big deal out of this because it was, brand new kind of content and everything like that. There's this wormhole there, and nothing was happening. Nothing was going on with it, and people were flying out with ECM ships using graviton ECM on it, trying to collapse the wormhole because, like, everybody knew it was Sanchez stuff, but we didn't know really anything that was going on. And we're all sitting there, we're all going through, waiting for it. We knew there was something going to be happening. CCP said, like, I don't know, I'm making up numbers, like 1800 on this day, be in this system, and we're going to do an event. And we're all sitting there. There's hundreds and hundreds of people sitting on the grid with the wormhole. And all of a sudden, this guy comes flying up in like a shuttle or something like that. And he jumps out of the shuttle, so his pod is sitting there. And then the very first revelation, Revenant, the very first Revenant, Sanchez supercarrier that ever been seen, comes through the wormhole. And this guy, we're all sitting there, we're like, oh shit, what's going on? This guy jumps into that Revenant supercarrier, basically says in local, thanks for all the fishes, and flies back through it. That was all coordinated by the live events team. And it turned out what had happened is the guy was having to quit Eve for whatever reason. I think he was in the military, but he just couldn't keep doing it at that point in time. And so he reached out to CCP, and the very first Sanchez supercarrier that was ever seen in Eve, like not only in HiSec, but in Eve, was his. Like it came through, and then he jumped into it, and then went back into wherever it was that Sanchez were based at that point in time. Um, and we were all just like, oh my god, it was the craziest thing. But that was the old live events team.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure there's a video of that somewhere. I don't know what you would try and like YouTube search to find that, but it was the very first Sancha supercarrier ever seen in high sec. I couldn't even tell you what the year was or what the date or like what the system was. It's been so many years ago. Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that they put. I just saw your thing in Fleet there for um, the sender only identified by the initials A and E. Yeah, yeah, I love that. They did a scope video. Um, I think it was at the end of Vietnam, maybe. This got actually Asher sitting down at a command council kind of meeting at a big conference table. Um, and or maybe he's standing, whatever it is. But there's a whole bunch of people sitting on that table, and they actually put me in that. And my avatar Ranger Gamma is actually in that meeting at that council table. It was really cool. I think it was to mark the end of the Vietnam War. So they do some things like that. It's pretty hilarious. I remember one of them, probably Fozzie, reached out to Asher and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna do a video segment about this. Are there some of your guys that you want to be in the little segment with you?" And so Asher gave them, I don't remember how many names he gave them, but he gave them a pile of people to put into that video. So that was pretty cool, I have to admit. Well, I think we'll keep going for another 15 minutes or so there, guys. I'm starting to run a little low on my fireworks and snowballs. I want to make sure I save some for the USTZ guys tonight. So we'll go for another, I guess, 13 minutes here. We'll bring it up to 2000. Speeding ticket. Which one was this one? Oh yeah, the I do remember that. Yeah. Speeding ticket was hilarious. Yeah, that's from. So for you guys who don't know, Heidi just linked a few of those in Fleet there. That speeding ticket is basically what Mini Love used to do. Is they would use overpropped and plated ships. So you would use a Macarial, um, and you would put plates on it and a big ass micro warp drive, and you would just slam into freighters, and you could not and jump freighters too, and you could knock them an insane distance away from gates. This was before the 3 minute annual warp, no matter what alignment kind of a thing. So this was from years and years ago. Suspicious mining permit. Is this from the old James 314? Is that what that is? I think so. Heidi, do you remember? Is that suspicious mining permit? Is that from the old James 314 group? I think so. Yeah, I saw that lance fire there. Yeah. Yeah, so when you fire Doomsdays, they neutralize cap of ships near them. It's a change that CCP made a few years ago. I don't remember exactly when they did it, but they did that a few years ago to, in theory, try and prevent us, like big groups, from just putting a huge ball of Titans together and then just annihilating someone with like 100 Doomsdays, and so they cap newt ships around them. Yeah, I could not have told you what the radius was, but 20 kilometers sounds right. I mean, is the whole point was to spread the Titans out because a huge ball of Titans is very difficult to attack. But if they will, the first one to fires basically makes it so that the ones immediately around it cannot fire their Doomsdays, like in short order. So they have to spread them out a little bit, so you can't get a Titan surrounded by 50 dreads and it fires a Doomsday and those 50 dreads cover it well, it blah blah blah. So it would newt out those dreads and then they're vulnerable. That's the theory behind it. The reality is that when you get a whole bunch of dreads, sorry, a whole bunch of Titans together and they start firing their Doomsdays, because of the cooldown on the Doomsday, it doesn't matter all that much. Like if you're doing a Titan on Titan brawl, it would, because you needed so many Doomsday hits from a Titan against another Titan, right, to kill it, but single Doomsday hits will generally kill a Dread. It depends on the fit on the Dread and all of those kind of fun things. It's not impossible to tank a regular capital carrier or a dreadnought against a Doomsday. With the new skills, we looked at it, and you really can't do that. The new ones, you're not really going to be able to tank that. The Navy Dreads can be tanked. I remember talking to Zintage about that. Yeah, if you've got the new advanced Doomsday operation stuff, they do a hell of a lot of damage. So much so that you really can't tank a regular carrier or dreadnought against it, but the faction ones can. Yeah, the whole getting a whole bunch of stuff dropped on it. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing. It's funny having seen way back many years ago now. Fountain, so Fountain region was controlled by an alliance called IT. This was a Bob descendant, and they were just in there. We were invading them. Uh, and it was one of the oh shit moments of my career. We were sitting there and we're going through everything, and all of a sudden we're invading them, and we pushed all of these subcap fleets in there. We had two or three full subcap fleets in there, maybe four. No tie dye. Tie dye didn't exist back at this point in time. And we're sitting there. We're like, okay, we knew our capital fleet was coming. We're waiting for it. Sinos go up, caps start jumping in, and there's everything. Carriers, dreadnoughts. Facts didn't exist at this point, so it's carriers and dreadnoughts, supers, titans, like everything comes in. And the enemy had beaten us to it, right? It was all hostile, right? Neutrals and hostiles to us, not a single friendly in the entire bunch. And we're all just like, oh shit, this is going to end badly for us. Because at this point in time, Titans would absolutely track subcaps. Their guns were fully capable of tracking subcaps and just murder zoning you. They didn't have the area effect doomsdays; those had been removed, but they could. Their guns would absolutely track subcaps. Uh, and we're just like, okay, well, we're dead. I was in one of the tackle fleets at that point in time. I was in a Wolf assault frigate. That's what we used for tackle back then. And our FC turned us in, and we got ready to attack this fleet. And you couldn't interdict or you couldn't warp scramble supers and titans back then. You could only use interdictors and heavy interdictors, right? Regular warp scrams and warp disruptors wouldn't work on them. You were immune. We get ready to attack it, and then our FC just tells us to break off. And it turned out that it was our entire fleet. It was our capitals, but the lag in the system was so bad that the only thing that showed up was their security status, that high sec, security status for when Concord comes to kill you because you've been a bad dude. That was the only thing that was showing up. So all of our capital fleet was showing up as red or yellow or neutral because of their security status. Uh, so we almost attacked our own capital fleet. All right, everybody. Well, I'm out of my fireworks for my Euro Bros here, so I got to keep some for USTZ tonight. So we'll keep going for a few more minutes. I'm out of ammo for right now, so we'll call it good here in another couple of minutes. Like I said, we'll wait to 2000, so we'll do 3 more minutes there for everybody. Thanks for coming out. I hope you guys had a good Christmas. Like I said, I'll do another one of these for USTZ tonight in about 6 hours or something like that. We've got the see the sights that we're gonna do tomorrow at this time. It's I think I actually set it at 1900, and then the meet the directors gate camp on Saturday also at 1900. There's no fireside this week. We're taking a break from space meetings and all that, so we're doing the meet the directors gate camp instead of the fireside. And then next week I will do another one of these for New Year's, but we'll actually do it on New Year's Eve. Um, it's a fun thing to try and set one of those for New Year's Eve, given the fact that it occurs at, every hour. I think I set that one also at like 1900, or I might have done it a little bit later. Uh, but you guys have a good day. I hope you've had a good day, mostly for you Euros. I'm sure it's getting a little bit late for you all. So thanks for coming out. Merry Christmas, everybody. And we'll see everybody in 6 hours if you want to come back for the other one. If not, tomorrow or Saturday or next week. So, cheerio.
Bring more titans.
I do see some interesting skins. I will say that on as I'm looking at Titans here, some carriers. Actually, no carriers. Dreadnoughts, faxes. Um, did some really interesting. Mina, your Moros, is that fireworks or is your Moros skin purple? I honestly can't tell. Steel violet. Okay, so it is actually purple. Nice. I like that. Would you would you link that one for me in Fleet just so I can see what that skin is? Is that like a normal skin or did somebody make that? Did you make that? Is that like a standard skin? I kind of like that one. Ah, you made it. Okay, cool, cool. Something I've never done is the Skinner thing. I did have somebody make me a very cool rag skin. Um, actually, for my Ragnarok, it's very cool. It's got multiple colors in it. Like you spin the camera and the color on it changes. I could totally see that. Yeah. Um, for Christmas, I had somebody make me a very cool rag skin. Oh, there's an Erebus. Wow, that Erebus skin's pretty awesome. I like that. Very cool. All right, we're right at 2000. I'm gonna call it for a bit. So see everybody later. Have a good one.